Yes, please. Yes, sir. Slight pain, but fine.
What's up?
Slight pain, but fine. I got a PD catheter. Yeah, my transplant's not. Yep, time for a new one.
Anything I can do for you?
All good.
Yeah, keep her where she can rest.
Okay, Ben Jr.
Rusty, how are you doing today, sir? Wonderful. Wonderful.
You, how are you doing,
wonderful.
Chief? You need anything? How you doing? Need anything? Sir, me too. You know, on a personal
Yes,
level
it'll
and
probably
professional.
It might be on the next meeting. It's
I
just-
hear
It's
ya.
a big one, and I want to
Yeah.
make sure that we get through budget before we move. Yeah,
You need to get in into the moose.
by the end of the week. So,
My phone will be off.
yeah, which is the end of the month, exactly. So, yeah, so that was our focus, is to try to get that done before we support. But it will be going
Hmm.
probably either the next meeting or the meeting after.
No, I was just curious about.
I hear you. You've been really busy.
I know it's been for you.
Actually, I will. Yes. Well, I won't be able to go in person. I won't be able to do it online.
She was asking about a quorum.
Yeah.
Yikes.
One of those little things.
Hey, Jerry.
How
you doing?
I tried.
Door stoppers are ready on this now.
¿Cómo?
The door stoppers are ready on this
I
now.
know, it doesn't want to catch.
Hi, my name's Andy. How are you?
Great to see you, sir.
Introduce you to the new guy?
I was telling Gloria how I saw your grandfather the other day,
Good?
and he was
Oh, ordering my plants.
working on the patio, and I was going to check on some of the stuff that they were doing on the plaza.
Yeah.
And, he was telling me how Araya is not
Sure
sure
you
able to
got
go
going on.
to
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Element. She's like,
I was looking at the NOAA forecast and trying to
Yeah.
fire watch it,
Forecast.
but it's like,
Oh,
I was like,
And
oh,
then-
hi.
yeah.
in 20
And then he
days.
says that she saw her there, to go to the and this is a little bit late,
Yeah.
and everybody like comes all around her, like, she's like this.
She's something else.
Kids, I tell you, they're great.
She's funny.
And then limit use of
So
fireworks
much fun, you know?
to pave for barren areas that have source of water.
Too smart, too
That's
fast.
the, it's 20 days, right? And then,
Stephanie,
we are in extreme, almost into exceptional drought. So severe drought. Most of the states are severe or extreme. It could change easily.
and so this allows us in our ordinance also skateboards.
Well, this is state law. We
Yeah, I
can't,
know.
we can't be more restrictive than the state.
And then, that's the sale on that they use. That's pretty-
Well, it's animal use, yeah, we're allowed to use. It also says that we can ban displays, but the display,
like,
is out of barren land, and we have a water source, because we bring the fire truck. So, you know, all we can do today is just recommend
suggest.
that. So we have to do it next board trustee meeting, it's too late to do it with one after that. And I, we want to tell us, our map right now, Summer Fire.
You already did. If you ever take two little fires with the Dragon Springs, and then I have on my phone, that NOAA
It's like county is not income, it's county.
Forecast for the next
Maybe 2 weeks, we got.
It's supposed to rain all week.
Well, it also really notes that
Yeah, but this
Dry.
is an area that the whole community.
it's thunderstorm, which means
Yeah.
moisture.
Yeah.
You ready?
So.
Simple and easy.
We'll have more conversations. Exactly like these species.
Let me,
You know, space. That are self-sustained, like in case of doomsday, in case of anything. You know, this shit that you see in movies. So they have greenhouses, they recycle their own water, they grow their own fruits. So anyway, this whole community, 80 acres, has all the research, it looks like. Population of life, it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
1/3, and the buildings coming out of it, and they're all
Managed.
houses. But they look like ships that fell from the sky, they cover it. And we tour all these houses, and then they, they show you how to recycle the water, they show you how to get a free energy house. And I guess they don't have their own ecosystems, that they don't need 10 cases. How many years?
Did we bring it, or we stopped there at the border? Just right to the Ashton.
It's been a lead.
It's color.
It's been a, you know, what the.
The only thing is that
Boundary, you could,
with
the suction, the suction.
the Polish, it's really, recycling
About two.
naphtha, tires,
We have.
beer bottles.
We already. IO practice stuff. And then we have.
I was, she was
And
just
that's
saying,
it from there.
Right, seen all that.
Thank
And
you.
we got
You're welcome.
I was wondering, is that safety structure or?
No, it's 170,000. Let me go get some.
All our teacher stuff is expired.
On the bar.
December.
Yeah, there's the same.
Over here showing one, some crazy. And. Our simulator is all money by trainings.
Yeah.
So I have to get 11 or 12 come down to do it. But it is all enough.
I know, that was.
New Mexico Administrative Code, chapter 60, it's 60, 2C.
You know? There's the Noah stuff. Let's see, it's-
How are you?
Jeez.
It's amazing, right? You can say that.
Sometimes it's difficult to work my phone. It's difficult.
Trustee Reese. Didn't see you sneak in.
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye.
Your Honor.
Day too far away. So that's those storms out there.
Yes. Good, but I won't be enough to impact that. And as much as 46% chance of rain on Sunday, but it would change. Tomorrow is supposed to be 41, and it's down to 12.
Right, so all this gets just dry.
Yeah, I think that.
Did you see it?
Yeah. All right, today is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. The time is now 6 p.m. in the evening. We are here at the Mesilla Town Hall for our regularly scheduled Board of Trustees meeting. That does include a short public hearing. With our first item on the agenda, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business is roll call and determination of a quorum. Gloria, if you would, please. Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Merritt,
Present.
Trustee Johnson Burek,
Here.
Trustee Nevadas,
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Great. And Trustee Cadena did tell me that she would not be present this evening. Next item is approval and changes to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Nevadas. And unless there's objection or discussion, the motion will carry with unanimous consent. Thank you for approval of the agenda as it has been presented. Next item on the agenda is approval of the consent agenda, which does include the BOT minutes for May 12, 2025 work session and regular meeting. Approval of a purchase requisition for ESA construction for the Mesilla Public Safety Building renovations in the amount of $7,977.21. Approval of purchase requisition for Code 3 for Marshall Department's public safety radios in the amount of $53,491.77. Approval of purchase requisition for CES JAG Award grant final payout for $5,086.02. Approval of purchase requisition for ESA construction for public safety building renovations in the amount of $7,779.47. And approval of PZHAC case 062001 for 2832 Erminda Street, submitted by Natalie Solopek. We're requesting approval to install a 10x10 metal carport on our property, zone historic residential.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Nevadas. And unless there's objection or discussion, the motion will carry with unanimous consent. Thank you very much for approval of the consent agenda that does include the BOT meeting minutes for May 12, 2025. Approval of purchase requisition for ESA construction. Approval of purchase requisition for Code 3. Approval for purchase requisition for CES for JAG Award. Approval of purchase requisition for ESA construction. And approval of PZHAC case 062001. Next item on the agenda is public input on the cases being heard this evening.
So moved. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Jumped the gun.
So if there's any public that has any input on the cases that are being heard this evening, please step to the podium and state your name for the record.
Followed your lead.
Hi, Trina Witter. I wanted to comment on, where did it go? Item 7D, the Picacho drainage improvements. As somebody that owns property on that road, I wanted to know a little bit more information because I read in the packet it talked about acquiring right-of-way and other things. I just wanted some more information on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ritter. Any other public comment this evening? Seeing as there is none, we'll move forward on to our next agenda item, which is a public hearing that does include a presentation for fire conditions, updates, recommendations pursuant to NMSA 60-2C-81 with the Mesilla Fire Department. Before we go into or have presentation, if I can have a motion to close the regularly scheduled meeting to open up a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek. And unless there's objection or discussion, the motion will carry with unanimous consent. And the time is now 6:05, and we are in a public hearing format. So with that, Mr. Fire Chief, if you would please give an update on fire conditions and recommendations pursuant to state statute.
Yes, sir. Mayor and Board of Trustees, I think we all know it's been pretty dry. We've had a lot of fires in the area. We had a pretty decent one over on Glass Road that was wind-driven and related to the dry conditions. There are brush fires happening, wildland fires happening all around the southern New Mexico. So we've been monitoring the drought monitor, the state and national drought monitor. And right now, most of the state is either in an extreme or exceptional drought. So it's very high level. Exceptional is the highest level, and that's down in the Boot Heel area. So my recommendation is, and the reason it's coming up now is according to the state statute, which is Administrative Code 62C 8.1, it gives us the authority to reduce or restrict fireworks when we have severe or extreme drought. We have to do that within 20 days of the sale. So if I'm offering for consideration what my recommendations and Fire Marshal's recommendations are so that you all can consider it, and then you can vote on it by next time, which gives us plenty of time to be 20 days out. On the flip side of it, it can change. Last year it changed and we got rain, and we were really worried because we hadn't done this and we were in a drought, and then it rained. So we'll be monitoring this daily, keeping track of it, and it'll be very easy to rescind this if we need to, rather than it's a lot harder to enact it. So the code allows us to ban the sale of aerials, allows us to limit fireworks to only being used on paved or barren areas that have accessible water source. So if they're out in the middle of nowhere, or even if it's a desert lot, if they don't have a water source, that doesn't count. The other part that it allows us to do, but I'm not saying that we need to do, is we can also ban the displays, but our displays are on barren land and we are out there as the water source that day. So I don't think we need to do that. So again, it's offering for consideration. It's supposed to get rain this week, but it was supposed to be 41% chance of rain tomorrow, and it's down to 18. So that's going to change. I have no idea what it's going to be like, whether we're going to get the rain we need or not. So it's just easier to be ahead of the game, and we can always just pull it back if we need to. And that's our recommendation. I stand for any questions.
Trustees, any questions for the fire chief? No? Thank you, Chief. And this is a public hearing, so if any members of the public have any comments that they would like to give, please step to the podium, state your name for the record. Okay. Seeing as there is none, I appreciate that. And we'll move forward with looking at drafting up proclamation for fire conditions for the board to review by the next meeting. Thank you, Chief, for that recommendation. And with that in mind, we is still in public hearing. With that, if I can have a motion to exit the public hearing to re-enter our regularly scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Trustee Nevada, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick. And unless there's objection or discussion, the motion will carry with unanimous consent. And the time is now 6:09 in the evening, and we are back into our regularly scheduled Board of Trustee meeting. Next item on the agenda for action and consideration under new business is approval of PZHAC case with condition 06-2002 for 2842 Calle de San Albino, submitted by Paul Carity, requesting approval to construct an adobe wall in front of their property and a porch in the front and also in the back of the house in the historic residential zone. The note on there, the condition for the approval was by the Planning and Zoning Commission was for the wall and the back porch only, not the front porch specifically.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, second by Trustee Johnson Burek, and I will open it up for discussion. Mr. Salazar.
Yes, Mayor, Board of Trustees, good evening. As you mentioned, this is case number 062002. It is at 2842 Calle San Albino and was submitted by Mr. Paul Carodi. He is here tonight to answer any questions that I'm not be able to. The request was for, to build a wall and two porches, one in the front, one in the back. The wall and the 6-foot wall and the porch in the back was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission because it met all of the standard or codes or ordinances for that particular zone. The one in the front was questionable by the Planning and Zoning due to the building being so close to the front of the property that it didn't allow the 7-foot setback to be adhered to. We did talk about neighboring structures, as our codes mentioned, that sometimes that some of the properties around this structure do not meet the current code, but has established a precedence in that area that could allow us to approve the request. Again, the Planning and Zoning decided to approve it with the condition of not approving the front porch. I would like to bring it again to the board, the governing board, about consideration, having in consideration about approving the front porch due to there are buildings on the side or next to it, actually 2 houses down, right there on Calle San Albino, Calle Sur, that does have a porch. It's not in your packet. I do have one here. I did make some copies before I brought it. I apologize. It wasn't on there. But you do have some drawings and such in the package, but it's so clear when you see it in color and in real life, right? So the one, obviously, one in the beige-looking color one without the porch is the one belongs to Mr. Carodi. The proposed front porch, it will be a porch similar to the opposite side of the sheet I just gave you, and to where it would extend up to the rock structure that you see there in front of his property between sidewalk and that structure where those posts would be there. And we'll be able to, again, give it the more curb appealing rather than just a straight front. Again, due to the structure being so far forward, it does infringe on the setback. So that sense of the code does not get approved. That's why it wasn't. But there is an opportunity for the governing board to reconsider it again due to, again, other buildings within the area that do have what Mr. Carodi is requesting. Again, the back porch, the wall, there's no issues. And was just the only thing I wanted to bring up. And I stand by for any questions.
The code says 18.35. It's for all new buildings. Now, this is not a new building, right?
That is correct.
Did the Planning and Zoning discuss this? I mean that this is not a new building, because it does specify for all new buildings, right side will have to meet the 7-foot.
Correct. This is not a new building. This is an existing building that doesn't have a front porch.
I know. Okay. And the other question is that it extends how far in the front that it would be on the sloping rock wall. Is that where the rest?
Yeah, I do not have, Mr. Porter might be able to answer that. I do not have it wasn't submitted. You can see the Plateau survey there on the packet itself, but how it relates to the actual where the front porch is going to be. Exactly where the front porch is being proposed. I believe it's going, you might want to answer that question, Mr. How many feet is it from the house to the front property line? You might have to want to step up here if you want to answer it.
Without looking at the survey, I believe the property line is the sidewalk. There's a little dirt piece between the sidewalk and that sloped rock wall. And that's where we want to put the posts. So the actual porch is, I don't think it's more than 4 or 5 feet. They have that. Yeah, see that's the
Yes.
sidewalk. And see our property line comes on this side here. Our property line's right there, but over here, I think
It's
right.
not, it maybe, I want to say maybe a foot on one end. It's not, the property line does not go parallel or right on the sidewalk. It meets the sidewalk on one end, and then the property line kind of extends out about a foot from the other end of the sidewalk, from the northern part of the sidewalk.
What the understanding is that the post would go in the third part.
Yes.
the rock.
Between the sidewalk and the rock structure,
Okay.
So one pole will be on this property and the other pole will probably be on the right of way.
few inches.
A few inches. But the overhang will be in the right of way, again, like I said. And if you look at a lot of the structures in Mesilla, especially in the commercial zone, some of these other properties, there is porches above the right of way where sidewalks go through and such. In that area, as I mentioned, there's the opposite end. There's at the very far end by Calle del Sur, there's a porch. Again, the P&Z approve without the front porch due to that, but I'm just saying there is an opportunity for reconsideration if the board feels like.
The front porch covering would be metal. The material.
It's gonna be wood and probably latia.
Yeah.
So we'll have cedar posts with latia roofing, or maybe some type of tongue and groove cedar or something like that.
So there'd be nothing about the latia.
But it'll be very typical for Mesilla.
Nothing about the latia.
I'm sorry?
Nothing, no material about the latia. You're saying it'll be latia. That's what
To
you
me, a
mean.
latia is kind of what you would see in the ceiling portion of the porch. It would kind of hold the roof up.
Okay, but no material above that.
No.
Like corrugated tin or something else.
No.
Trustee Johnson Barrett?
I think which one is this one actually corrugated metal? Yeah, that one's corrugated metal. I think the one that's on the back, the reference that's 2 houses down, I believe that is actually corrugated metal. It's on the top with some wood posts.
That it is.
And even if we look the other direction on Calle de San Albino, there are quite a few porches that come across doing exactly what we want to do.
So Eddie, I need some clarification here. So on the agenda packet, it says condition for approval for the wall and back porch only. I interpret that as saying there's a condition placed on the wall and the back porch.
That's the way I wrote that. So that's my my verbiage on there. It's not on the wall. It's on the condition is on the wall and the back porch were approved by the Planning and Zoning
Right.
Commission. The front porch was the condition on that
Well, the front porch wasn't approved.
was not approved. Right.
Correct.
So there should not be a condition.
The
It
application,
wasn't approved. Shouldn't they have went through the appeal process if the front porch wasn't approved?
it was part of our discussion, going through various processes of such, right? So the application itself requested 3 things: a portion front and back and the wall. So the application itself, as it was written, it was approved with the condition not to include approval for the front porch. And there was comment, if he wants to have a front porch, there is a process of going through that, through a various requests and such. But what I'm commented on is our code also allows to have the setbacks dictated by other structures within the area. And it'll be they take the setback depending on the structures within the area. Which ordinance? I can read that for you.
Please. This is very, it's not clear at all.
It's
We're
not-
stating We're doing a condition for approval for the wall and back porch. I'm concerned that P&Z did not approve the front porch, yet here we are again with the packet that wants to approve everything. And it just does not feel like everything is in place nor done right. We don't have the plans for the front porch, and I know the ordinance says for all new buildings. My other question, having those other buildings that have the porch been grandfathered in, there wasn't a precedent set if they were already there before the ordinance came into place.
I believe there's a sketch for the front porch. Did you not get that in the packet?
Yeah,
The
it's,
side view.
I'm just like detailed plans.
Yeah, I think this,
No,
only- it only comes out 4 feet. Which would include the sidewalk that's on the property. And then I think it includes a couple inches of the post to go between that sidewalk and that rock structure.
Regular Shane, it's in 1860,
Thank you.
18.60 point, Brian, let me just give me a minute. Corner says permissible covers of rear yard. It's much easier to look it up in the computer because you just put keywords and you get spoiled. If you look at 1860.330 modifications of requirement front yards, the depth of the required front yards may be modified and or on improved lots between lots having non-conforming front yards of a depth less than they require by this title. The modification may be equal to average depth of the front yards on 2 adjacent lots provided that is at least 15 feet. That is verbatim what it says. So again, the commission approved it without approving the front porch. I'm just bringing it up, and if the board feels that doesn't apply, then and it doesn't apply, right? I just wanted to bring that up for consideration.
I'm just not comfortable with the way it's being done and completed. It feels like the process is not what we usually do, and I don't like the way it's worded with this condition, yet it almost feels like we're going behind planning and zoning's back by bringing it back to us without doing the variance or the other formats that are more formal that we usually do.
Yeah.
Those are my concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think
You may-
Trustee, just to comment as well, just real quick on that, is that, what, unfortunately, Eddie was out of town for training this week. So I had the fun part of putting his part of the packet together with Gloria. So that, like I mentioned on that, that's my fault on the verbiage on there. The commission did approve the case with the back porch and the wall. They just did not approve the front porch as it was presented. So that's the condition that they had set during the meeting as such for that, and set it as a condition that way they could still move the packet forward with that, and not it be a full denial all the way around the project being presented for clarification.
Correct. Yes, Mr. Mayor. If I may include also is that the commission felt that it would add benefit curb appeal to the structure, to the town, but they weren't sure of themselves, and they felt that approving without the condition and giving the opportunity to the Board of Trustees to take a second look at it to see how they will feel about this particular request, then they decided to go that route. Other times, they've approved conditions that they felt met the code, again, with the recommendation, and many times it gets denied based on whatever facts or evidence is presented to this board.
so are there other avenues to address this, like Trustee Johnsonberg said, variances or appeals or anything else available?
Yes, there are two things. One is a variance request. There is a variance request procedure that Mr. Crody could go through if the board decides to uphold the planning and zoning decisions. that he would, again, create a hearing and a separate application and be able to submit it if the Board of Adjustments considers that to be approved.
So the question is that the planning commission didn't feel comfortable because it didn't meet the 7-foot requirement. But there are other structures down the street that come right up to the edge of the street.
Yeah, well, what happens is yes, they went this route because it wasn't so much that the code was inconsistent with each other. It's just you're able to have your basic setbacks, what you need, but the code allows you some kind of leverage depending on the structures in the area to be able to allow encroachment and on setbacks.
Some of that leverage is based on this house being built in 1930, apparently, that, when these setbacks didn't exist.
Sorry?
When these setbacks did not exist back when this house was built. The current, I mean, there were no setbacks for the structure, but it's built right up almost to the edge of the property. So is the porch meant to be more of an aesthetic addition or for shade, or how is this?
Shade, weather protection, and aesthetics, of course.
Yeah, of course, the curb appeal part of it, and just having, because if I look at the house, it really looks like you're looking at the side of it. It doesn't really look like the front of an entrance of a home. But again, I was just presenting it to the board, the governing board, for your opinion.
Right. And so the overhang would be over that rock slope.
No,
Over the sidewalk.
just over the sidewalk. Just how the other structure is.
It'd be within the property lines of that house.
The overhang and such might overhang onto the right of way, just like it looks like on the backside of that picture and some other structures in Mesilla. But the post, like I mentioned, the sidewalk itself is not parallel with the property line. One side has plenty of room for a post. The other side, looking at the drawings, is questionable. If it probably would be right on the property line itself. Again, when you look at setbacks, and I wanted to bring, I think I brought it one time in the past. Setbacks are set for particular reasons. Mainly it's for safety when it comes between two private properties, to allow, plenty of space between two homes, or even a sound, and there's, allow the setbacks so there's no noise, nuisance between one home to the other, the smell, the way the homes are set up, the aesthetics of a block, how all the structures are lined up. I mean, those are all the reasons why setbacks are implemented by municipalities. And that's the intent of it, right? So this one, the building's been there for many, many years. I don't recall when it was in place, but we're just trying, Mr. Crowley is just trying to do the best what he can with the building and try to show a little bit of shade and a little bit more curb appeal again.
So just planning and zoning does know that this condition is optional for us and we could withdraw that condition or not, correct?
Correct.
So they did have that conversation.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, there is a motion on the floor to approve the case as it's been presented from the Planning and Zoning Commission. The board does have the option to make modifications if they want. That is your choice as the governing board.
Can I put a condition to take off to allow the front porch to be built with the wall and the back porch as well?
So this is an amendment?
Amendment to the,
Or not a condition?
an amendment.
Okay, yeah. Second.
All right, amendment on the floor to amend the original motion for approval to approve the case with the wall, the back porch, and the front porch. Is that correct, Mayor Pro Tem? So amendment on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Nevadas. I will open up that amendment for discussion. And if there is none, Gloria, roll call vote, please.
Trustee Nevadas?
Yeah, on the amendment?
Yes.
Yes.
This is the amendment. Mayor Pro Tem Merrick?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Burris? Yes. Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Okay, thank you very much for approval of the amendment to PZHAC case 062002. Going back to the original motion on the floor, is there any further discussion on this case? Seeing as there is no further discussion with the original motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek, with it being amended as motion. Gloria, roll call vote if you would, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Merrick?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Burek?
Yes.
Trustee Nevares?
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
All right, thank you very much for approval of PZHAC case 062002 with amendments noted by the governing board. Next item on the agenda for approval is FY 25-26 Mesilla LCPS service agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek. And I will open it up for discussion. And I'll just say with this is our SRO agreement that we have, same as last year. No modifications other than the dates. It's still counting for two full-time SROs, one SRO to be at Zia Middle School, the other SRO to be at our GPI. And then they kind of float between the two. There are conditions in the agreement that they help out with some extra training throughout the school year for the principals as well as for the schools as a whole. So are there any questions?
No,
I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
So the amount that they're giving us does not cover their entire salary, right? Just to be clear.
And that is correct. It covers, because we do have two officers that are in that. It does, or in there that are level 3 officers. In our budget, we did have that shortfall, which is about $18,000, and we did incorporate that into the budget for salaries through the general fund in that.
Okay.
Other questions? Sorry.
No, I was just going to clarify because under item number one, cost of the SRO program, it has 170. I'm assuming it's 170,000.
Yes.
Wait, there's a zero missing.
It says 17.
No, it says 170,000.
Missing the 0.
Do I have a different copy?
I was showing it to you earlier.
I don't know. My copy
First
has.
page, I think.
Ours has 17.
Okay.
It was sent by the school.
Yeah. But yes, trustee, it is for a total of $170,000 a year
Right.
to come into that. Oh,
Yeah.
that's my eyes are deceiving me. It is sorry. I see the comma there after the.
No, I was trying to get
That's what-
clarification.
sorry.
Is it 1,700? 170?
Yeah, no, it is 170,000. Sorry about that, trustee, for 2 full-time positions.
Yeah, can we, Mayor, make sure that they don't come back and say the comma was in the wrong place?
Right.
And,
Yeah, to
17.
add that.
yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. There was another grammatical error that I had noted in the agreement with the SRO team. Any other questions, trustees? It's great that we have this partnership with our.
Well, I
our
just want to
schools,
make
so-
sure we get the money. It's
Yeah.
not 1,700 or $170,
Not
something
17.
else.
That would be definitely a surprise for sure. So, any other questions, trustees?
No.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek. Gloria, roll call vote if you would, please.
Trustee Johnson Burek?
Yes.
Trustee Nevares?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Merrick?
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Great. Thank you very much for approval of that fiscal year 25-26 Mesilla LCPS services agreement. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 2025-36. I'm jumping ahead. Approval of RFP FY 25-28 solid waste services agreement.
So moved?
Second.
Motion on the floor by trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick. And I will open it up for discussion on this. And with this, just real quick before we dive into this, this is the RFP for trash services that we did. We had out. We only had one applicant that had provided our application. We went through the whole process for RFP. Gloria's first time doing it by herself, and she did great. In that the committee was made up of to review the RFP was made up of myself, trustee Nevada's. Yeah.
Trustee Nevada.
Yeah,
Yes,
I was gonna say because it was gonna be Kalena and then Nevada's.
You
Oh,
had
that's there.
forgotten
So,
about it.
yeah, sorry. Here we go. And then two residents as well. Right? No,
Yes.
resident and Lorenzo. Sorry. See, I'm losing it.
So I'm moving it. Yeah, it's,
These days are
one
meshing.
of our residents.
Yes. So we had a great team though that reviewed everything and reviewed the entire packet in here. So that's what you have in front of you. The one thing that you will note in here is that they did have an increase in the services that they are providing that does not reflect within our current budget, if you will, as well as the fees that we charge our residents. So with that, at the next meeting, I will be bringing forward the fee request fee increase request to you to be reflective of what we do here or what they are charging and what we've done in the past with CPI and everything to that extent.
Mayor, what is that fee gonna increase going to be?
The average that the trash company or that the solid waste company increased was a $2 increase across the board, not including a CPI increase in there. So that's what we would be looking at. It's just being,
Some of them went up a little bit more.
yeah, some of the commercial services went up a little bit higher than $2, but the average for residential was $2. The others were based upon the weight in there. That one was in there. Any other questions? Yeah, so that's what you're seeing here on Form 2 in the back. Other questions? Okay, motion on the floor by trustee Johnson Burek, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick. Gloria, roll call vote, if you would, please.
Trustee Nevada,
Yes.
trustee Johnson Burek,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Merrick,
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of the RFP for our fiscal year 25-28 solid waste services agreement. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 25-36 for project CT 1213005, Cayo de Picacho drainage improvements.
So moved.
Second?
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by trustee Johnson Burek. And I'll open it up for discussion. With this one, just for clarification and to help out as well with the question that was brought up earlier in public comments, this is not a new grant. This is a grant that we already have. It's getting close to the end of the date that it would revert. So that's why we're not going to have this is for our current project that's going on Cayo de Picacho and payment for the current project on Picacho. We're just not going to have the final pay app in by the end of the fiscal year. So DOT has asked us to do the resolution in order to pass the funding over and encumber it into the next year. So that's all this resolution is for. Any other questions? Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by trustee Johnson Burek. Gloria, roll call if you would, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Merrick,
Yes.
trustee Nevada,
Yeah. Yes.
trustee Johnson Burek,
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Okay, thank you very much for approval of resolution 2025-36 for project CT 1213005. Next item on the agenda is approval of resolution 2025-38 for budget adjustments.
So moved.
Second.
Motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek, and I will open it up for discussion. Gloria, if you'll give just a background, quick background on that.
The one for the fire protection, it was a reimbursement for the
The,
purchase of it.
the
gurney.
gurney and the stair chair for the rescue.
So it was an increase, so I had to do a budget adjustment, but the money was spent on those items. And then on the events, she took in more money, so we had to increase the budget because her expenses were looking more. But she took in more money, so I had to do an increase.
Any questions, trustees, on resolution 2025-38? Seeing as there are none. Sorry.
Well, maybe this is the time to ask you and to clarify. Instead of mentioning in my comments, and if you prefer to me just mention in my comments, let me know. But at the last meeting, when we did that budget adjustment, where you had to pull out of the reserves based on, I want to make sure I heard you clearly, correctly, so that you had to take that money out for costs associated with the courts. Did I hear that correctly?
So it's,
Is that one reason or the reason for the committee? Because I just would need clarification.
we can touch on that
Okay,
during comments.
okay,
I think that would be good because it's not related to this current
okay.
adjustment, but I can definitely help and address
Just
some of
wanted
that.
to make sure, yeah, that I understood correctly.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you, appreciate that.
Most definitely. Any other questions, sorry, on this budget adjustment as it's been presented to you? With the motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Merrick, seconded by Trustee Johnson Burek. Gloria, roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Merrick,
Yes.
Trustee Johnson Burek,
Yes,
Trustee Nevada,
Yes.
Mayor, the roll call is 3 yes.
Thank you very much for approval of resolution 2025-38. Next item on the agenda is public input, where the public is invited to address the board for any other matters. Anybody has input? Okay. Seeing as there is none, we'll move forward. Board of Trustee Committee and Liaison updates. We'll start with Trustee Nevades.
I attended the meeting of the Friends of the Taylor site for the first time, and they're a very impressive group that they have a lot of activity going on, and I'm looking forward to, I guess, a little bit more participation on my part in the board. So
Thank you. Trustee Johnson Burek.
we had an MPO meeting on May 14th. We had a lot of business, I won't touch on it also. I want you guys to, if you want to chime in on anything, I think, two things I will mention out of it was that, we did prioritize, the TPF projects. And that acronym is the Transportation Project Fund. And then we have a resolution amending the federal fiscal year, TIP, which is, that acronym is Transportation Improvement Program. And then a lot of other business items. But that's all I'll mention. Because I don't want to take it all up, but.
Please do. You don't want to see my list.
Well, I'll mention that I know it for Trustee Merrick. We did adopt a lot of the Las Cruces city codes and some of their policies and procedures because we are a self-standing, the MPO is organization, and they are our fiscal agent. So we needed to utilize what they do in order to make that happen. It's one of the reasons until we, I guess, I don't know that we'll always have to have a agent, sorry. Okay, I think I'll stop there. It has been a challenge all day.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Just updates from DOT. So the I-10 interchange, it should be done by June. the resurfacing from I-10 to Anthony should also be done by June. They only have one more lane left. The bridge rehab project by University should be done by July. The US 70 project to Oregon, they're only going to be working on that during the nighttime and during the weekend. That should also be done by July. We did talk to or mention to DOT about, we had some residents go and speak about the university project. The mayor was already ahead of us and took DOT out there so that they could see what was going on. Before we even had the meeting, took DOT out there to show them what's going on. And I know a commissioner from Las Cruces had suggestions that maybe we do some kind of, I don't remember the wording, but to allow those residents to have a higher wall height instead of just in that area, a variance, just in that area, so that their privacy they could have that privacy since they are 2 feet down, which I thought was a great idea, just to help them out so they have a little bit more security and privacy on that road. Other than that,
I'm gonna go through this real quick. So, you know me, I have a ton of meetings and everything all the time. I do want to share that I did step out with our residents for the rite of silence that they had this last week, and be there as they took off for the 9-mile trek that they do going around the town and doing that. And part of that is in honor of our previous that did pass away while riding a bicycle. So it's good to see the amount of people that came out there for that and being a part of that. I did attend the book launch that was at the Taylor Monument as well, which was another great deal in launching Mary Taylor Daniels' second book that she had written that was finished by one of her kids, and really getting the descriptors out on there. So a good showing on that event, and good shout outs to the town in working in collaboration with the monument and really bringing that side together. I had the opportunity to speak at RGPI's, or Rio Grande Preparatory Institute's, graduation as their keynote speaker for all of the kids. Let me tell you, something that's very special and impactful. I think there was 19 graduates total, compared to hundreds of graduates for the larger schools. Just seeing those kids and seeing some of the awards that they won was just really great to see, and a good part of our community. We did a meeting. I pulled together a meeting with the Consulate of Spain that did involve Senator Heinrich's office, Congressman Vasquez's office, members of Doña Ana County, pulling them together to meet with them to work on the potential of an UNESCO designation for the Camino Real as it runs from the Mexican border up through just north of Santa Fe, with that whole thing where it's not designated by UNESCO right now. So we're going to be working on trying to get that designation moving forward. It'll probably be a long, drawn-out process, but at least we can get that going on the federal side as well. New Mexico Municipal League also had their budget meetings going on right now, and being a director on their board, I get to be part of the fun budgets that they have going on, not just ours. We did have our Blue Star Monument designation, and definitely want to give a shout out to the Mesilla Valley Garden Club for all the work that they did, as well as our local DAV that meets here. It's a great little turnout there. If you haven't seen that monument that's out there, it's definitely a beautiful piece of work on that flagstone. Fits the park very, very nicely. So very, very good job to everybody there. As it was mentioned already, we did have MPO. But with MPO that same day, I did have a DOT coordination meeting where we meet as members of the town and staff. We met with the Department of Transportation and talked about the 4 highways, that do run through our town, as well as some of the projects that we're working on, some of the requests that we have that do include better markings for Avenida Mesilla, in particular for some a lighted hawk or some flashing lights for the crosswalk here. The potential of looking at some sort of traffic calming down at the corner of Union and 28, and then other traffic calming measures throughout town. Of course, the university project overall was a big topic of conversation in that coordination meeting. And their team, which was about 12 members strong present, is committed to helping out however we need it. And I think that that's extremely important that we continue those relationships. Eddie actually had the chance, or sorry, Mr. Salazar actually had the chance to attend a theme park presentation next door at the Rio Grande Prep to see the students do a presentation that they worked on for the semester for building theme parks. And it was kind of cool to see the things that they put together and all of that as high school students, and the ventures that the teachers take them on and collaboration, even though some of them work by themselves. But it was good to see what they were able to produce. It's interesting. It kind of takes me back to when you were in that position. If you remember doing those presentations when you were a kid, yeah, the reflection's interesting. This upcoming week, we do have meetings for My Civic and jumping on that and trying to get the app going again now that the website's completed. I do have a meeting with Oregon Mountain Desert Peaks Architect to continue a conversation for funding that we have received for this building to see what that might be to get a ball rolling on that. We do have our monthly meeting with A Mountain on Thursday for our projects that we're having going on Calle de Picacho and Calle de Santiago. Right now, that project is slated to be completed by the end of next month. We do have SCRD, or Southwest Regional Transit meeting tomorrow morning on that side. And then New Mexico Municipal League is doing a web-based training for grant writing for the Water Trust Board in specific for next week. So even though I'll be out of town with the family, I'll probably still jump on that call just to be a part of that. So a lot of good stuff going on and a lot of good information as always, and always there. If anybody wants to join, you're more than welcome to, please. Next on the agenda is Board of Trustee and staff comments, and we'll start with fire. Excuse me.
Mayor and board, been busy couple weeks, or since last time we saw you. We just had 7 members, including me, take an emergency vehicle driver course this weekend out of 12 in the class, and it was one put on by the county. So they reached out to us because they didn't have enough people to fill the class. They needed 10, and so we ended up filling up the class for them. So a lot of good stuff with that, and we've got people attending another training class starting June 2nd. Like 6 of them going up to Albuquerque for that one. So a lot of training going on. Been a busy day today. Both of our ambulances were running. I think we've run 4 transports today, and some of them at the same time. So all of that's still up in the air. Sometimes it feels like the ambulance company is doing a really good job, and then today they didn't. So you might see us out and about. Other than that, business as usual, rounding up the funding for the year. Thank you, Gloria, for helping with all of that, and the mayor. He threw like 1 cent in somewhere in there to help out. If anybody's any questions.
Thank you for everything you do, Chief. And I know the Marshals Department's not here presently, but I've seen them out in force several times just today. So I know that they've been busy. So I will turn it over to Community Development. Economic Development.
Mayor, trustees, good evening again. I have a few things. As the mayor mentioned, the commissioners went up to Taos, New Mexico. We spent some training with the New Mexico League semi-annual conference. Very, very informative. There has some really good topics, land management, short-term rentals, code enforcement, those kinds of things. So I'm glad that most of the commissioners were able to go, 3 out of 5, and also Liana and myself. And of course, when you get back, you had come back with ideas, and you're gung-ho and you want to present them to the board. I think some of the information that we gathered, I think we are going to propose. We're going to put together some ideas, and then maybe propose it to the governing board, maybe have a workshop and such. But a lot of good information, I think, this time around. So, and my first time in Taos, so that was also very interesting. Another thing also is we did finally make contact with one of our platforms, Airbnb Online, regarding our lodgers tax. I think I'm very excited about that meeting. It was a virtual meeting between me and Liana and I, and also this representative from Airbnb, which serves as a bridge between municipalities and the actual business. His name is Nick. I didn't get his last name. But anywho, some of the questions that came about were the questions that we were concerned about here. Number one is, does Airbnb automatically withdraw lodgers tax from homeowners or STR operators in Mesilla? And the answer is no. Absolutely, they do not remove any lodgers tax from short-term rental operators of anybody. They don't do half, some staff don't. They just don't. This is so. My next question was so lodgers tax from short-term rentals operators need to be paid as it was in person or some form of payment. So we're looking at that. We're investigating some of the paperwork, the monthly reports that short-term rentals send in, which ones haven't paid, which ones have paid. So eventually we'll come up with a spreadsheet packet. We'll put that together for the governing board to look at. Another question was, there are some short-term rentals with Las Cruces addresses, as are many homes in Mesilla. One of the questions was, those Las Cruces addresses, were those being automatically withdrawn? And they said yes, they were. And the taxes were, at that point when he looked, where taxes were submitted to Las Cruces for tax purposes. So again, we're following that rabbit hole down that route as well, trying to figure out which ones are the ones that are being submitted to lodgers tax, and maybe we can somehow recover some of those taxes that were sent to them. I spoke with the mayor about this. He actually provided wasn't aware it existed, but New Mexico taxation revenue has a boundary line of the GRTs. I submitted that to the Airbnb spokesman, and he was very appreciative. And they were going to, from now on, once it's implemented, they are going to be automatically removing lodgers tax from all bookings in Mesilla, but that's going to take about a month or two for their tax people, he mentioned. And using that GRT chart from New Mexico taxation revenue, that's where they will use instead of addresses, because that was, again, pretty confusing to them. So again, we are continuing following up with meetings on that aspect. COG, last meeting we had, we did speak with Ms. Liana, did give a presentation of COG. We are moving forward on that, just trying to familiarize the P&Z what to expect, what we're doing. That there is some work with that COG, a little bit more than what I expected. Number one, the very first thing that we need to create is a local registry, similar to a state or a national registry, and it needs to be formalized and passed as a resolution, and those records kept through Mesilla. So one of the conditions that we need to do in order to meet COG requirements. What is on the local registry? It's going to be basically what we have now in a sense, but they need to be approved by the commission and the board of trustees, if necessary, to be on that local registry. So every property on the local registry would need to go through some type of approval process. So it's quite lengthy, but I believe we might be able to do maybe one at a time. We might be able to do 5 at a time, depending on, of course, the location and the structures that we're proposing to include on our local registry. Working with Danielle with the comprehensive plan still. We are trying to reach out for more, as we spoke at that time, with farmers. See if there's anything the farmers would be able to help them with. I did give them some contact information to contact some local farmers, and maybe they can get some of their input and see maybe some of their needs and what can we do moving forward to try to help preserve some of this greenbelt and agricultural properties in Mesilla. I did also have a meeting with a cable company called Ripple, not local. They did have a meetings throughout the area with the county, with the Cruces, Southern Park, and also with Mesilla, wanting to come in and do business in Mesilla through installing fiber optics with cable company. This would include internet and cable. So one of the questions that they asked was, does Mesilla have a franchise agreement policy that they need to look at and adhere to? I wasn't able to have anything dug up with any kind of franchise and such. And I think if we don't, I think we might be missing out on an opportunity to working with a cable company and maybe somehow create some revenue in a sense for Mesilla in that aspect. I guess I'm kind of looking for some direction in that aspect to, before we continue talking about fiber optics. Do we have a franchise agreement? And if so, if not, how do we put one together and such so we can, again, maximize on that opportunity for Mesilla itself. Lastly, I want to speak about Mr. Corodi's case that we talked about that we got to thank you very much for that consideration. 2 things. One is there is a section in our code 18.06.300, very close to the same section that I just read off a minute ago. And this section talks about, let me just read it to be exact. It says commission may modify 1860-300. The planning commission may, by resolution, establish standard practices by which to determine an appropriate and practical modification of required front, side, and rear yard depths or widths in all zones in geometric shape, dimensions, or topography makes impractical the literal application of a yard requirement in this title. Following adoption of standard practices and approval by the Board of Trustees, they shall be applied as an administrative act. In summary, how I interpret that code is while we're looking at this code as we are any case, as the cases come about, we talk about amendments to the code, about trying to update it, so using this case, what we've learned from it. There was also the discussion about getting together, do some workshops, the commission, and created a resolution that will establish standard practices by which it will determine how the setbacks are determined. So not aware of any resolutions in place right now. Just to advise that we are going to be working on that and present it to the Board of Trustees for consideration. We believe that many of the cases, the code is the code, we need to adhere to it, but there are, it's not always black and white. And I understand that's why variances was for and such, but I do think we do need to have some kind of established by resolution practices of what determines to be a setback. And I mentioned, the setbacks, the intent, uniformity in buildings, safety, sound, noise, all these things are the reason why for setbacks are established. The front setback, obviously, you want to have a front landscape. You want to make a curb appeal. Those types of things is why generally a front setback is adhered to. Also to line up all your homes in one place. But that is great for new development, but we are dealing with a lot of buildings here in Mesilla that are already been established. So some form of flexibility, I guess, in a sense, for the commission, especially for some of these non-conforming structures and properties to be able to help our residents and be able to consider some of the requests. The last thing I have is on the same case. Mr. Crody called me today concerned about an email that he received from Mesilla, particularly for myself. His concern why there was an additional fees to his application in the total amount of $4,500. I was confused at first, and then the more and more I heard Mr. Crody speak about it, I asked him to send me that email itself for me to look at, and I'd like to, with permission, Mayor, pass it out to the trustees. Most of the discussions we had. That is the email, and this is the attachment. It came with this email. And basically what this is this is a scam. It's a scam. My concern was that the verbiage on this email is word by word what's in the board action form. Okay. We don't practice posting total packets with the planning and zoning for this purpose. I've mentioned this many times in the past, my experience and my background in law enforcement. I've taken many reports where people have been scammed, particularly uneducated people, senior citizens that very easily get fragile or scared, maybe some illegal immigrant, whatever the case is, that they automatically react and they get scammed. And I dealt with retirement funds and banks and such where people lost everything they had due to this. So whenever we post online not just for Mesilla to see. It is something that is worldwide. I mean, it's the third world countries. Try to be able to recover some of this money back and such. It's a concern for the well-being and financial finance for our residents. So again, I wanted to bring this up. We don't generally post packets in planning and zoning. I do believe that the commission or the board of governing board, I'm not sure that you required it or not, but again, I do ask that we reconsider that request. If you look at the email, it says it's from me, and exactly the case that we just finished talking about. I believe it was posted on Friday, so it wasn't very much time. And what I was worried, now there's just one person, maybe more than just one, has found this Mesilla website. Now, what other cases are there? Many cases that go back years that full of information. Now, the state statute of New Mexico requires you to redact some information. I believe there's 5 things: Social Security, driver's license, bank accounts, about 5 particular things, but it doesn't tell you to redact anything other than that. So everything else should be public. Access should be public, access to the public, but doesn't mean that we, voluntarily need to be posting everybody's information online for everybody to see. So Mr. Brody was, again, he called. I don't know, you want to make some comments on that or not, but he was pretty upset, and he was pretty, signatures itself could be Photoshopped with AI nowadays. I mean, all these kinds of things. So online crime, it's getting higher and higher, and it's very more difficult to track and be able to protect our residents in Mesilla. That's all. I stand by for any questions. Do you want to make any point?
It even says it's the city of Madison.
That was the first thing that
Correct.
caught my eye. When I saw that, I was like, But then when I saw Natalie Solopek at hotmail.com and I saw the logo on there, I was like, I don't know what this is. So that's why I called.
Yeah, and Natalie actually was a different case. It was a different case at the same time that we both looked at, for the carport that we approved tonight. But so it wasn't put together right. If you notice, another thing is wire transfers. right? There's no telephone for you to call. I mean, so all these things are very evident very quickly. Thankfully, Mr. Gordon was able to call and be smart enough to do that. But let me tell you, I've known a lot. Personally, I've known people and also in my past experience, I've responded to some calls that left out of mine. So maybe even a notice, a website notice or something to be aware that we're the only ones, kind of like you get a lot of emails nowadays that say, the IRS is not going to ask you for payment or whoever, PayPal's not going to. So yeah, it's just the scamming is getting harder and harder to trace and harder to tell. So
The
it's
concern
difficult.
is it could just be the beginning.
Mhm. So I stand by.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for bringing that up as well. Into all that. Finance.
Mine's the same old song. And Eddie took up all the time. We're moving forward, getting ready for next year. Already.
Preliminary budget's due Friday, so that's
Have it in by Thursday.
getting it entered right now. Good deal. Thank you. Lorenzo's not here right now. He's out at a call on that, but they're doing water tie-ins. That's where he's at on Picacho and Santiago. Trying to finish up that project, as I mentioned a little earlier. Also on his behalf is that the Santiago project and Picacho project should be fully completed by the end of next month. That's their goal. I think they said the 24th or the 22nd. I had to look at a calendar to see, but that's where they're planning on finishing up completely with everything over there. The other projects, the university's underway and still going. They're getting quite a bit of the storm drains and all of that in up and down that road. We do have the Avenida Mesilla is done with all the striping being completed. But as we heard in MPO, I think it was in MPO. It might have been in TAC. I can't recall because I've been in so many DOT meetings lately. But they're going to look at moving the grates up on the road itself to try to level that out as a future project. I don't know if they said that in MPO or not.
I think it was MPO.
It
See
wasn't
this.
NPO.
Okay, so I see my meetings are meshing now. But that is another project that they're looking at. The public safety building is almost completed on everything we have done to do there. And then the cameras are fully installed on the public safety building as well as on the plaza. And we should have the webcam on the plaza going live here soon as well. Let's see, what other projects do we have going on? I'm trying to remember. It's a lot. But at any rate, that's for Lorenzo. And that's where part of his team is out on vacation right now with the week off. So he's more hands on deck now, helping in their absence. So, Trustee Nevares.
Just a comment about the University Avenue project, because we've had residents come in, expressing concerns about what's just happened to their backyards. So I've had an opportunity to go up that street, and I can see how their quality of life has been impacted tremendously. I mean, they had privacy, they had a barrier. Now everything is gone there. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Johnson Bjork.
Just the two comments. The clarification regarding the budget adjustment. And then secondly, I guess in attending the meeting Monday, I was concerned that some of our planning and zoning commissioners weren't aware, didn't understand what a rolling forum was, or that they can't talk to applicants if it's a quasi judicial case that's going to be going on. Some have been on the board for quite a while. So I don't know if we, staff, has not given them the information they need. Maybe we could do a brief orientation, because I know the training is great, but we're at their, where they can do it. If we could do something just like a fact sheet. And it's not, well, it is, it's town liability issues, but also to protect them, you know, from the Open Meetings Act and things like that. So I was just kind of, you know, well, not kind of, I was surprised, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Johnson Burek. And I can
Oh.
comment now, or unless you want me to.
Oh, no.
It'll come down. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm glad that some of planning and zoning, or the majority, went to the training.
Good.
You really do get reinvigorated, per se, when you go to these things, because you're able to talk to people who are in this similar position in different cities, different municipalities, and it really helps to bounce off ideas. So I'm glad they had an opportunity to go. What else? I think that we should look into a variance for the people on University, for the height of their fence, so they do have an opportunity to build a higher than 6 feet fence. And we can try and get that done just until we can find a better solution, or whether we find funding for a wall, or if it happens at all, just so they have some kind of solution for the issues that they're having now. Other than that, I don't have anything.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Then I think, just for clarification with planning and zoning, because we did have the joint work session that Trustee Johnson Burek is talking about, that was between the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Board of Trustees, that was on last Monday. And all of the, six out of seven commissioners were present, and 3 out of 5 Board of Trustees were present as well. But it was really for the Planning and Zoning Commission to help out with Open Meetings Act, running efficient meetings, being and just answering questions. Rebecca from the Municipal League did a good job overall. We could probably have kept on going with some of the information that was there. Probably could have done 2 hours worth of meeting, but there was some good questions that were asking, some good clarification. And to Trustee Johnson Burek's points there, I think that it was eye-opening on some of the facts there. But if we're not doing these trainings more frequently, then sometimes I think that things might be getting through that don't, or happening on unintentional consequences that are happening potentially. And I think that that's why we just need to continue on with doing maybe even quarterly training or information, just to get people in, create potential SOPs for, and I know Eddie loves creating SOPs, so for new commissioners, so on and so forth, so I can work with them on that, and we can see what that looks like. But there was also the training that Eddie and 3 of the commissioners, Eddie, Liana, and 3 commissioners went up to, that was in Taos as well. And that's what Mayor Pro Tem was kind of speaking on. And I think that it's great when, to that same point, where anybody and everybody, including ourselves, can get out and meet our peers, other electeds, other appointeds, and industry professionals, if you will, to really gather more information and have those one-on-one conversations. It's good to get that feedback, and also to know leadership within the state who's also there to help to support and answering questions whenever that might be needed. So those are always good things, and things do come out of those, even though some of those things can tend to be a little bit redundant from time to time, but sometimes that's what helps build you to be stronger at the end of the day. To go back to Trustee Johnson Burek's questions, as far as it pertains to bars and budget adjustments in general, the way to think about it is a majority of the bars that we've had to do for the year so far have been adjustments for line item specifics, saying that we don't have enough money in budgets and agreements under the executive, fund or budget specifically. So we need to move something from travel to up into cover some of the shortfall that's in specific in that, so within that same category of under the executive branch. So those are some of the bars because we didn't budget fully for those contracts and agreements in that. In the last meeting, the bar that I specifically asked for in that was a bar to pull money specifically from the general fund for a shortfall that we had because of that. And it's not fair, as I mentioned then, for us to be, with my intention was originally with it when it was a smaller amount, was to pull from other budgets to help cover the shortfall. But once that shortfall kept growing larger and larger, it's not fair to my team who's consistent, or to I say my team, our team, who's consistently running their budgets and working hard to ensure that they're meeting their budgets and their numbers, that we pull from them specifically to make a shortfall that is not in their control by any means. So in those line items for further clarification in that, for that request from the last meeting, what we had is under the executive budget, which is my budget, your budget as the trustees, as well as partly the judge's budget, because it's all the electeds that have that part there. We do have legal fees that are that fall under our budget specifically. So those legal fees pertain to general matters, which are those that we have whenever myself, trustees specifically have claims, tort claims, or information, or we need clarification, or we're having review of ordinances. That's general matters in that sense. The other line item for the attorney's fees is specific for the courts. So the courts cost in that is where the courts have are having their everyday hearings where they're dealing with codes cases, with traffic violations, with anything that involves the officers on a daily basis, if you will. That's not a general matter for the town as a whole. So what we were seeing is that the executive budget was overspent, and by all means, it was the entire budget. It wasn't just a small portion of the budget where I could have transferred and did bars within the budget. So I had to pull money from somewhere else in order to cover that shortfall. So that's exactly what that bar specifically was for that last meeting. Does that help?
Yes, because I knew you mentioned court, so I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just some
Yes, thank you.
clarification on that. Hopefully we don't have to do that very frequently because we try to stay within our budget. But we do know that we do hit shortfalls sometimes, but that's why it's important for the entire team to stay on top of that. I will say though, that it's one thing that Gloria didn't share, as well as that what we did see is where we were on our revenues for the budget as a total, where we were being very conservative for our revenues and our revenue projections. This last month, which is actually, this month when we received our GRT, which you'll see in the next report at the next meeting. But I'll share it a little bit ahead of time because I know Gloria was sweating bullets there for a while thinking, oh my God, we're going to be so tight on this. But we actually had one of the biggest months of GRT come in. So that's why it was good. So she's happy because it's not going to be a shortfall in revenues, so we're good on that. And that's why I told her not to worry. We got this. So, but overall, it's a good thing, so the entire team is doing great things and still continuing to run a tight budget to close out the year. And we'll be taking it from there. So excited to see what our next fiscal year has in store for us. So, and with that, I don't have anything else. And if there is no objection, the time is now 7:24, and I will call this meeting as adjourned. Thank you.
Right.